The Rachel Maddow Show, weeknights at 9 Eastern on MSNBC.
Do you know the actor Ryan Gosling? A few years ago, I can't believe it was a few years ago, but it was a couple of years ago, a fan site for Ryan Gosling popped up online and became an instant hit. It changed the world online. The site had kind of a profane name that I will not repeat here, but needless to say, it specialized in photos of Ryan Gosling looking very handsome, and those photos were paired with sweet and funny taglines superimposed over the photo as if they were word bubbles, things he was saying. So, like this one where Mr. Gosling says, "Hey girl, I was just thinking about how awesome you are." Or this one, "Hey girl, I heard you like saving the environment and gas money, so I got a hybrid." This one, "Hey girl, I heard you like beards, so I grew one last night." If you have not seen the original Ryan Gosling version that started it all, you have probably seen some of the spin-offs. For example, there is the feminist version of the Ryan Gosling "Hey girl" meme. At the feminist Ryan Gosling site, he still says "Hey girl," but it comes out like this: "Hey girl, the post-feminist fetishization of motherhood is deeply rooted in classism, but I still think we'd make cute babies." Or, "Hey girl, gender is a social construct, but everyone likes to cuddle." Or, "Hey girl, you built a room of your own and a room in my heart." The Ryan Gosling "Hey girl" meme has even intersected with other internet memes over time. Like, remember the texts from Hillary thing from earlier this year? See at the bottom there, Hillary Clinton text message conversation, her texting from that badass military plane. So her text message conversations are imagineered onto a photo of her on that military plane. And here's the one with her and Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling texts her, "Hey girl," and she responds, "It's Madam Secretary." There's also a Ryan Gosling "Hey girl" meme for librarians. There's one for museums. There's one where he specifically talks only about how much he loves National Public Radio. But the "Hey girl" thing has spread even beyond Ryan Gosling. Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan has been the subject of a "Hey girl" fan site since roughly April. On the fan site, he is shown saying funny things about the budget while looking cute. But now that Paul Ryan is not just a congressman from Wisconsin, now that he is the presumptive Republican nominee for vice president, now Paul Ryan's "Hey girl" meme has gone a whole new direction. As in, "Hey girl, you're pretty fine, but fertilized eggs should have more rights than you. XO Paul Ryan." Or, "Hey girl, got birth control? Not for long. XO Paul Ryan." Or, "Hey girl, I'm the last choice you'll ever be allowed to make. XO Paul Ryan." Or this one, "Hey girl, I'm from the 1970s, but my ideas about your body are from the 1950s. XOXO Paul Ryan." "Hey girl, you'll love my choices for your body. XOXO Paul Ryan." The folks behind the new "Hey girl" Paul Ryan website made themselves known at a campaign event for Congressman Ryan today in Colorado. They made themselves known by way of an airplane trailing a banner behind it. CNBC's Ayman Javers noticed it during the event and tweeted a photo of it. It's a little hard to read at this distance, but the banner being towed behind the airplane says, "Hey girl, choose me, lose choice. P. Ryan." But there's even more to the Paul Ryan Gosling mashup internet meme right now. There's now a Twitter account registered to Paul Ryan Gosling. Paul Ryan Gosling's recent tweets include, "Hey girl, you look so cute when you're losing your reproductive rights." And, "Hey girl, I would have voted for the Fair Pay Act, but Lilly Ledbetter, I hardly know her." At his event today in Colorado, the same one with the airplane towing the "Hey girl, choose me, lose choice" banner, the same one with that banner flying past, the folks at Politico.com got word of a Paul Ryan-themed prank at the event. You had to submit your name in order to get an admission ticket to the event. An admission ticket for the event was issued to somebody who said their name was Fertilized Egg. See, there it is on the ticket. Name of attendee, Fertilized Egg. And if you look at who ordered the ticket for Fertilized Egg, it says the person who ordered the ticket was Fertzy Eggers. What all this is about with Paul Ryan is this. The whole idea of Fertzy Eggers, the whole idea of a fertilized egg being declared a person for political purposes, really has special resonance in Colorado, where this event was today. The personhood for fertilized eggs idea is the ragged, radical edge of the anti-abortion movement in this country this year. Declaring a fertilized egg to be a person is a way to not just crack down on abortion rights, but to criminalize all abortion in every circumstance, with no exceptions, and to criminalize everything else that could conceivably affect an egg that has been fertilized. So that doesn't just mean criminalizing all abortion. It goes beyond that and likely means, according to the personhood people, it likely means criminalizing emergency contraception, criminalizing the most popular forms of birth control in the country, hormonal birth control. It would certainly mean criminalizing the IUD, which, trust me, someone you know is using right now to keep themselves from getting pregnant. It would criminalize most in vitro fertilization even, because that type of fertility treatment involves fertilizing eggs, not all of which end up being babies. And so, for example, 3 of Mitt Romney's sons, who have reportedly had some of their children using in vitro fertilization, like lots of people have, would be considered murderers if personhood passed, because using in vitro fertilization could make them murderers of eggs that were fertilized for the purpose of the fertility treatment and then did not become babies. Mother Jones published a very challenging, sobering piece on that today. Even for people who are super, super anti-abortion, the personhood thing is seen as kind of nuts. I mean, personhood is remembered as the thing that was too radical, even for the hugely anti-abortion conservative electorate in Mississippi last year, right? I mean, Mississippi voted personhood down by double digits when it was on the ballot there last fall. Even the National Right to Life Committee said that what they were trying to do in Mississippi was too radical. The National Right to Life Committee called it a waste of time. And not only did personhood lose in Mississippi in 2011, it also lost in 2010 when it was on the ballot in Colorado. And that was after it lost in 2008 when it was on the ballot in Colorado. And the reason it is such a hot issue today at the Paul Ryan Colorado event, attended by Furtzy Eggers and friends, is because it looks like personhood is going to be on the ballot again this year in Colorado, even though it has lost by 40-plus point margins there twice already. And personhood for fertilized eggs, banning contraception, banning all abortion, banning in vitro fertilization, it may be too radical for Mississippi, it may be too radical for Colorado, but the Republican vice presidential nominee this year is the guy who sponsored personhood for the whole country. Paul Ryan co-sponsored a national ban on contraception, on all abortion, and on in vitro fertilization. When Paul Ryan was on Meet the Press back in February, David Gregory asked him whether the Republican Party was maybe focusing too much on contraception. Maybe that might hurt them in November. Paul Ryan's answer to whether he was concerned about that was no. These last couple of years have seen a really big rollback of American women's reproductive rights. And it's been a departure from just the constant fighting about abortion that has always been happening at some level in our politics. Over the last couple of years, Republicans have been fighting issues that everybody thought were settled, even as we kept arguing about abortion. I mean, they've been rolling back rights over these last couple of years that American women had been taking for granted at this point. It's not just regulating abortion, it is banning abortion at certain time periods and not allowing exceptions for rape victims and incest victims, something that 9 states have done over the last 2 years, going after rape victims and incest victims. It's voting to get rid of the entire federal family planning assistance program, Title X. It's voting to defund Planned Parenthood, to block women from getting cancer screenings and checkups and birth control. It's fighting against access to contraception. It's not just regulating abortion here and there. It's wholesale efforts to shut down access to abortion altogether with targeted regulations. It's no exceptions for rape and incest. It's rolling back access to contraception. These last couple of years, the Republicans have been more active, more aggressive, and more radical on this issue than at any time since Roe versus Wade was decided. And they have been successful at what they've been trying to do. Last year, Republicans passed a record number of new abortion restrictions in the states. They enacted 131 new anti-abortion laws just since the 2010 elections. It is unprecedented in the history of legal abortion in this country, and it has had a material effect on women's lives. There was a stomach-churning article in the Texas Tribune this week about abortion access now being so restricted in Texas that Texas women are crossing the border into Mexico, visiting unregulated Mexican pharmacies, and then self-medicating with drugs that they hope might induce abortion, taking these drugs without doctors' prescriptions, without instructions from doctors on how to use them, at risk to their lives and their health. For women living near the Mexican border, back alley abortions are back, and the new back alley is across the border in Mexico. But even as Republicans have been able to go farther in restricting these rights now than at any time in the last 40 years, there have been some things that are still just a bridge too far, like the personhood thing, for example, right? The personhood thing came nowhere near passing, not even in Mississippi. It was too far. We talked on this show last night about how Republican candidates in Colorado this year, even the ones who supported personhood the last time around, they are sprinting away from it as fast as they can this time around. They can read the polls. They know personhood is a bridge too far. The other thing that has been a bridge too far is the idea of forced ultrasounds. Forced ultrasounds is something that Republicans actually did get passed last year in Texas and this year in Louisiana and Arizona and in Virginia. But not until in Virginia there was a national furor over it. And that gave Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell's national profile a national profile that scuttled any chances he had of being picked as Mitt Romney's vice president. A Washington Post column back in February talking about how he fell off the short list for vice president because of the ultrasound fight he got himself into in Virginia. Assuming that the Republican presidential candidate is Mitt Romney, it would be much harder for him now to tap Governor Bob McDonnell as a running mate. The two of them would immediately have to devote time to defending the ultrasound bill. I think the moment in the sun is over, said a Republican source. The ultrasound controversy was probably very unhelpful to the calculus that Romney will make at the convention. Bob McDonnell in Virginia made the mistake of becoming nationally famous for his stance on his state's ultrasound bill, and that made him politically untouchable and toxic on the national stage. Do you want to know who co-sponsored the national version of the Bob McDonnell forced ultrasound bill? Congressman Paul Ryan of Wisconsin. Republicans tried this forced ultrasound thing in a lot of states. The only reason it didn't end up going through in Pennsylvania, for example, was because Governor Tom Corbett of Pennsylvania got caught on tape explaining, in that way he has, that there is an avert your eyes provision in that state's version of the bill.
Making them watch and speaking, does that go too far in your mind?
I don't know how you make anybody watch, okay? Because you just have to close your eyes.
You just have to close your eyes. Governor Tom Corbett explaining that is part of the reason that Pennsylvania, I think, did not get the forced ultrasound bill. Paul Ryan's bill for a national forced ultrasound law, it has the exact same avert your eyes clause. You can see it actually in the bill. We have that there? Yeah. It's a subsection of the bill called ability to turn eyes away. That's who the Republicans picked for their vice presidential nominee. I think they did it because they thought people would not notice these things about his record. It was not what he was known for before. It is what he is getting known for now, very quickly. Karen Finney, former communications director for the DNC, joins us next.